Meta has been going hard into AI and recently admitted that they will be using the conversations that users have with any of its AI products, with the exception of WhatsApp, to target ads at you. Well, Meta obviously already does this with your other interactions on its platforms, Jeff. It seems like AI conversations could be a lot more personal than the sites that you visit on the web. And I do want to add that there is, of course, no way to opt out of this.
Of course, there's no way to opt out of that. That is not a surprise at all coming from Meta. What was sort of a surprise and what's fascinating that I read recently is that Goldman Sachs chief data officer recently said that AI training data is starting to run out, with most of the open internet already having been scraped, and this will inevitably slow AI progress. So the alternatives are for AI companies to secure proprietary data, and this is why almost everyone involved in AI wants you to opt in so they can get your personal data for that training. Or, barring that, start training on machine-generated content, which is one of the reasons you're seeing such an acceleration of slop out there, including things like Meta's Vibe AI-generated video platform.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And we should add, like we teased off the top of the show, that OpenAI has gotten into that game too, recently launching its Sora app, which is basically a TikTok clone that uses only short form videos created by its AI. This announcement got a lot of negative response online, including runner Tushar posting the following on X, and quoting here: Sam Altman 2 weeks ago said this: "We need $7 trillion and 10 gigawatts to cure cancer." Sam Altman today, and quoting here what Runner said: "We are launching AI slop videos marketed as personalized ads."
Yeah, I mean, those are two very different things. And I'd say Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, responded to that with, I get the vibe here, but we do mostly need the capital for Build AI that can do science. And for sure, we are focused on AGI with almost all of our research effort, end quote. And it seems, in addition to that, all being written in lowercase letters and not quite English, it seems a bit bizarre to me that OpenAI is trying to cover its insane data center costs needed to run its AI by, running its AI more to create slop. But at the very least, it looks like the costs of these things are going to go up in the future because they're starting to face some real cost pressures because this stuff is expensive and the investors are starting to look for some of their money back.
Yeah, I just don't get what these guys are thinking with these AI driven social spaces. I mean, it's just a total nightmare and unnecessary. We should add that on the science front, Thomas Wolfe, co founder of the AI startup Hugging Face, has recently pointed out how today's chatbots are not going to be able to do much for science for a couple of reasons. First, saying that chatbots are far too agreeable to make the challenges required for scientific discovery, which is really interesting. Second, that they're basically designed to predict what the next word in a sentence will be, which runs counter to scientific discovery, so often coming from looking where others aren't. So, a really interesting perspective that I haven't thought a lot about.
Yeah, and I think he's got some points there. You can see, but scientists who are discovering things are constantly challenging other people's suppositions and are pushing back on things and trying to do things a different way that's never been done before. None of those things are what chatbots are doing. And obviously, AI for science may be different than chatbots, but they seem to be sinking their time into the chatbots and video creation stuff. So it does make some intuitive sense that if AI is running out of training data and being forced to train on its own slop, that's not the place that you're going to find scientific progress. And let's face it, most of the work being done in AI, it's not aimed at helping humanity. It's more like a great example is a recent story that's got SAG-AFTRA and a lot of actors up in arms is AI is more likely to be doing things like creating Hollywood's first AI actor, Tilly Norwood.
Yeah, this story has been trending online. So, if you haven't heard about it, Tilly is a creation of Particle 6 Productions, who debuted in an AI commissioner comedy sketch from the company that you could watch on YouTube. And while some of the animation is certainly impressive, a lot of it still looks off. So, it's really hard to see the value that this brings, other than maybe just cutting costs and reducing hassles related to actors. Although this really does seem like a fly in the face of a recent post from Particle 6 claiming that the virtual actress is not a replacement for a human being, but a creative work, a piece of art. I've not seen this much BS in 1 week of tech as we are this.
I so struggle with AI creations being described as art. I mean, anyway, but the bigger problem, and one raised by a lot of people in the industry, is that Tilly, that AI actress, would almost certainly have been created and trained by illegally consuming and analyzing reams of copyrighted content. And it's the work of human actors who aren't compensated for that. The studios aren't compensated for that. And so you're taking somebody's work and using it to train something to put that person out of a job. And that just doesn't seem to be a winning equation for me. It's certainly not going to win in the PR race.
Absolutely. We should also say that when we talk about OpenAI's AI app, Jeff, I saw that one of the most popular videos so far is of Sam Altman running around stealing things. So there is some retribution that is happening in these social spaces, which is kind of good. Now, speaking of video content, it looks like yet another big US company has decided to settle a lawsuit from President Trump. This time it's Google's YouTube, who paid $24.5 million because at one point, if you remember, it had suspended Trump's YouTube channel after the January 6th Capitol riots because it was concerned about the ongoing potential for violence.
And, what kind of excuses, ongoing potential for violence to cut somebody's YouTube account off? It's a pretty freaking good excuse, if you ask me. So now we've got CBS News having paid $16 million to Trump. Meta's paid $25 million. Disney's paid $16 million. X has paid $10 million. Paramount Global has paid $16 million. I'm sure there are others, but they total over $90 million of settlements of lawsuits brought forth by Trump, the president of the United States of America, towards big tech companies and media companies just in the past year. So $90 million that these tech and media companies have paid to the president to buy his favor. These are not cases that Trump was going to win, or that's at least the legal opinion of most people. So it's a very scary way for these big, important companies to be conducting themselves.
Yeah, no kidding, and what a way to get richer. I mean, yeah, unfortunate. Speaking of unsavory people who are making too much money, Elon Musk has become the first person to have a net worth of over $500 billion. And because most of this is based on stock holdings, he often pays very little, and we should stress sometimes nothing in taxes. In fact, even though Tesla was valued at about $1 trillion and had U.S. income of 2.3 billion in 2024, and this is shocking, it paid no federal tax whatsoever that year. So there's something a little bit broken about this model and system.
There sure is, and I think in the case of Tesla, I don't think they paid any federal tax 2 years before that either. In 2022, Musk has had multiple years where he's paid no taxes whatsoever. So there's something that needs to be fixed about this. This is how the rich become richer, and it's not based on helping anyone else. It's just based on helping themselves, getting enough power so they can change the system they're working in to further empower themselves. And it's happening all over the place. Obviously, it's happening. The president's doing it. Musk is doing it. And it's just it's no way to run a government or a country. But let's hop across the border to a country that has recently become better run, as far as I'm concerned. In Canada, as the Logic reports, a Colorado-based startup called Electra, that's backed by Bill Gates and Amazon and some other clean funds, is looking to build a $910 million clean iron plant in Canada. So this is supposed to strengthen the supply chain around steel and stuff like that, create a bunch of jobs, and slash emissions. So that's good news as far as I can see.
Yeah, that is fantastic news, and what a great project. Hopefully, it will be able to work its way through the approval process. That's one of the things I think Canada is still a little bit slow at, but I do have a
Mhm.
little bit of hope that that will happen more quickly. You know, we just had Minister Solomon, the Minister of AI, on the show last week, and they have this AI task force, and they're only giving them 30 days to come up with recommendations. So I'm
Good.
excited to hear these sort of shortened time frames in terms of doing things in Canada. It should be noted that when we're talking about that project potentially coming to Canada, this is in the face of the US Energy Department basically banning any discussion of climate change, telling employees not to use the following terms in internal or external communications. This is shocking. They can't use climate change, emissions, energy transition, green. I mean, that's just a color, decarbonization, sustainability, and more.
Yeah, it is absolutely nuts. And again, this is from the people who were complaining about free speech. I don't, it's like the Princess Bride, that word you're using. I don't think you understand what it means. That's hardly free speech when you are dictating to, people who are maybe scientists and things like that, that no, you're not allowed to say these words. It is exactly what they claim their problem was with the woke left and all this stuff is the censorship of speech, and it's why Elon Musk inevitably or allegedly bought Twitter, and now they're trying to close down speech at levels not seen before, or not seen in recent years, at least in the United States or Canada or many Western countries. So just crazy. But and in other interesting news, the Chinese founded fast fashion giant Shein, I think
Sheen,
it's
Sheen.
pronounced.
You probably wouldn't know how to pronounce it, but, a lot of, young women I know are, big shoppers of Sheen.
I like my fashion slow, so, slow in
Alright,
that it's
you're
probably from the
had to go and
'70s
get
or
that.
'80s. But, they plan to open their first bricks and mortar, shops in France this November, which is a bit of a reversal from, the typical real world companies moving online, but kinda cool, but there's definitely some local backlash, so we'll see how that works, but it's a pretty big story, and I wonder what it has to do with, tariffs or anything like that. But anyway, early days, but let's see how it goes. I hope it in some way helps them improve their terrible environmental impact, at least.